Yeah, definitely. As you're tuning back in here for day 3 of our Hormone Freedom Reset, so excited to have you back. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Mitzi. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Lisa, Helen, Rita, Jerry. Um, I always like to chime in. Well, how are you feeling? If one word could describe how you're feeling today, what's coming up for you and how you're feeling in your body just after this week, kind of processing, thinking through some of the things that we've talked about earlier this week. What's one word to describe where you are today? Hot. It's in the 90s. Oh, okay. That is warm, Rita. Definitely excited. Yes, I love that, Helen. Excited to be, just having this conversation. I think a lot of it is really, really empowering and exciting to have. So today is my favorite. I am actually really, really excited because today is like one of my favorite things to talk about. Mitzi, calmer. I love to hear that you're calmer. Um, 90s there too. Oh wow. You guys are living in some warm places right now. It's not quite as warm here. I think it's supposed to be up to 60. Jessica, locked in and optimistic. Love that. Love that. Love that. Again, some new clarity, some new inspiration, optimistic. I love that sense of believing and seeing what's possible. Well, today is only going to open that up even more for you. So, without further ado, why don't we dive in? Let's see, I'm going to share my screen here. And we've talked about, like I said, the path to reaching your health goals is through first clarity, being able to know what your body is responding to, specifically like what it's responding to loudest and where it's asking for attention first, then sequence, allowing you to prioritize that support so your body can start to make some meaningful progress. And that's the way to keep that hope alive so it doesn't feel discouraging and defeating, and then support in the right sequence. And this is what creates that sustainable change, and your body understands what's being asked of it and it can cooperate with you. We started on day 1 looking and recognizing how to decode the patterns that are showing up in your body. And we talked about there's definitely some overlap, whether it's an energy and output fatigue, just not able to keep up with the demand. And usually this is at a cellular level, either from a thyroid perspective and or a blood sugar instability. We talked about a lot of times the most common mistake here is from metabolic mismatch. Literally the cellular metabolism isn't keeping up to where the demand is being asked of it. The other type is stress response, when the body gets stuck in that fight or flight response chronically. And this can look like high cortisol, elevated cortisol levels, or elevated adrenaline. It can also look like suppressed cortisol, like almost like a flat curve when we look at, like a 24-hour diurnal rhythm. Sometimes it's like really, really low and it's just not able to have enough. And that's when you can kind of get that exhaustion. And then the other one is fueling and digestion. Again, this is really a lot about absorption, our ability to take in nutrients, to adequately break them apart, absorb them at a cellular level. Ooh, hold on, I'm seeing some more people are here in our waiting room. I want to make sure I'm letting everybody in. Here we go. So yes, just kind of recapping of knowing where your pattern is, where your body is starting. And then we look at this hormone freedom method. This is the proven process that I've used for over a decade to support women to predictably and consistently create sustainable change in their health, where they start to see their energy charge up, where their metabolism gets ramped up so that they can naturally release weight and balance their hormones, where they experience better moods. And honestly, they feel more grounded, more peaceful, more centered in life. This is these steps that are critical. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking more about removing toxins and what that looks like in the body physiologically. Today is a deep dive on reset your thoughts and how that is a non-negotiable part of the process to up-level your health. We've already talked about nourishment and looking at the PFFV, nutrients as the foundation, and then digestion yesterday also, with making sure our gut health is optimized. And today we're going to be diving deep on what I call the hormone missing piece, the hormone integration. And this is where we look at how our nervous system is shaping our physiology, and it's tied directly to our mindset patterns. So again, reset thinking. This is all about rewiring our neurology and working with the nervous system. To bring us back to context, it's helpful to see how everything in our hormonal system and our different body is interconnected. It's related. Nothing works in isolation. And changing one aspect of like one area, for example, like taking, I'm just going to say this is like what my protocol was initially recommended to me when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, was to take, levothyroxine, a hormone replacement medication to replicate the thyroid hormone, right? So you can see where the thyroid is in this picture, and that changes part of the equation, but it didn't address anything else either upstream when my thoughts and the hypothalamus, my thoughts, my beliefs, my nervous system patterns. It didn't address my pituitary, how that signals about the status of our world and the, cues and clues from our hunger hormones, our ghrelin, our leptin, about our adrenal response and stress response. That goes down to the adrenals, and then it goes to the thyroids. But I'm kind of, just talking overtly here, but really just comes to show us that everything is connected, and addressing one part of the piece of the puzzle isn't necessarily going to balance and improve the whole system unless we look at it systemically. And one thing I like to notice about this is what is at the very top? What's the lead driver of this cascade of the system? Activity and interpretation that's happening in the hypothalamus. I'll heard this quote like many years ago. I'm trying to think, it was probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, as I was studying at the School of Applied Functional Medicine. The founder, Tracy Harrison, used to always talk about the interconnected cascade, and how this quote from Charles Swindoll is so relevant to any type of healing, any type of health transformation. Life is about 10% what happens to you and about 90% of how you react to it. In other words, that is dictated upon what we're going to be talking about today, our understanding the meaning that we give to circumstances, situations, and people and occurrences that happen day in and day out. And this is why that is so relevant. I'm going to kind of give some context. The brain is truly miraculous. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's mind-boggling, very complex. It has 100 billion neurons that are bathed in a soup of hundreds of chemicals, including neurotransmitters and hormones. Our brain is capable of processing an estimated average of 11 million pieces of data per second. That's like literally hard to understand. It's like 11 million, 11 million, another 11 million. However, out of those 11 million pieces of data, we are only consciously aware of about 40 bits of data, which means the other 10,999,960 pieces of information every single second are part of the unconscious part of our mind. Right? So we are not cognitively tuned into it. We're not aware of it. Your brain consistently fills in that missing data with past associations, things that came from our childhood, things that came from even 10 years ago. So what we're experiencing moment by moment, second by second, is actually more about what we have experienced in the past than what's currently happening in this moment, typically. Because we experience, and that filter is shaped through our unconscious mind. The brain is selectively selective. Dr. Bruce Lipton says all the time, the brain is it's the most advanced technological deleting machine. It literally deletes a lot of the information that's in front of you each second because it's referencing things from your unconscious mind, things from your past. So your perception, what you are consciously aware of, matters, and the world you perceive is only a tiny subset of the whole incomplete picture. This means that the people, the circumstances, the situations, and the events, as you understand them, are much more significantly about your unconscious associations, what's happening in your unconscious mind and your unconscious programs, than what's currently happening in your conscious awareness now, right? So I like to show this like picture of an iceberg. It's like what we're aware of is the tiny little tip of the iceberg, but really what's driving our neurology, what's driving the rest of that hormone cascade that we talked about is all of this part that's underwater, all of the unconscious mind. So your health habits may be running on old programs, right? This is likely something that we learned at a really early age what was the circumstances or the situations that felt safe, that felt acceptable, that were praised, that were punished, what was considered normal. And this is when we like are born as children, we're actually in a different brainwave state. It's a slightly slower brainwave state than what most people are operating in and day out now. And that means it's kind of like a hypnotic state. Actually, if you ever do hypnosis, that's what they do is they put you into that slower brainwave state because it's more susceptible to just receiving information and being like influenced, right? You don't have to necessarily, you've all seen like if you've ever seen like people on stage who get hypnotized and then they'll be willing to like bark like a dog or do silly things. It's like, because their logical mind is not stopping them from doing something that normally is kind of inappropriate or out of context for the setting. They're just following instruction. They're just taking and receiving. That's what happens in the first 7 to 8 years of life. We're just literally learning about how does this world work? How do I learn what it means to be a daughter, a sibling, a friend? We're just learning about how the world works. And so programs are literally being downloaded into your unconscious mind. It's kind of like if you have a computer and you have no programs, the computer is not very useful. But as soon as you download programs, now the computer can do things for you, right? That's what happens during the first 7 years primarily. And those early templates then shape how you relate to food, how you relate to rest, your body, doctors, how you express and relate to different emotions, and also asking for support. And in midlife, often what we come up against is our changing hormones. We talked about this on Monday. They reduce that margin or they reduce that bandwidth. And that means if some of the old unconscious patterns that we learned early in life, or even throughout our teens and 20s that were also affecting our unconscious, they no longer work to create balance and harmony in our system now, right? And I like to give some more context around this, right? So when we think about what was normal, many of us here during this call or listening to the replay were born during this time frame, like 1966 or so through 1986. These were the norms of what was being unconsciously downloaded into your old programs, right? Unconsciously, like a good woman takes care of everyone else first. She takes care of the family, she cooks all the meals, she does all the things. So it modeled over functioning, guilt around taking a break and having rest, even burnout, just go, 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 go until I can't anymore. Weight, the main measure of health was what was the number on the scale. And that's what meant everything. It kind of was a time of restriction and ignoring strength, ignoring how well is your digestion and how is your sleep. That was not the conversations. That was not what people were focusing on. That's not what our culture taught us was quote unquote healthy, right? It was the era of eat less and move more. Weight Watchers was founded in 1963, and the emphasis on tracking calories became the standard for weight loss. We also learned that fat is bad, calories are the enemy. Fat-free fad, fear of nourishing foods, low protein and low fat meals became like what we saw in the grocery stores and what was on labels and packages everywhere you went. Some other norms about it is that trust whatever, the doctor, you go to the doctor once a year, the doctor runs your labs, the doctor says everything looks fine. Okay, then you're fine. If you're feeling anything different, don't necessarily worry about that. Don't have to listen to your body. Just wait for the diagnosis. If you haven't received a diagnosis, then you're okay. Everything is fine, right? Doctors fix your health problems. Outsourcing body authority instead of becoming an informed partner in your care. That was just not the norm. That was not the cultural standard or the conversation in the early 70s and the 80s. Emotions are inconvenient. It's not, we don't have time for you to complain. Just push through Don't worry about it. It'll be okay. Move on to the next thing, right? And women should be low maintenance. We don't want you to need too much. We don't want to cause a fuss and just kind of put your needs off to the side, right? So it's just interesting. The beautiful thing is we can see how that's a stark contrast to the world that we live in now, which is awesome. However, we get to acknowledge that this was the reality for most of us early in our life when we were receiving those unconscious programs that were not by choice. It's not like we were cognitively filtering through and thinking like, oh, wait, this doesn't make sense. I'm not going to keep that program. I'm going to delete that. And I want to add this one instead. We didn't have that like awareness because that was just the world that we were swimming in. That was the ocean that we were surrounded by, right? And that's what we saw modeled in women around us and people that we look up to, right? And that's very different than what we're talking about in the world that we live in 2026, which is a great thing. I love this. It's so great to see. Like now there's tons of conversation around midlife and the midlife changes that happen to our bodies. Like midlife is not just about aging. It's a biological transition. We know that our body is changing and we do get to have new approach, new support, new strategies, right? Traditional labs are likely going to be too late to help you be on that proactive trajectory that's ahead of schedule to preempt a future diagnosis. We now know that muscle is the new hormone healthy. Like this has to be part of the journey. And it's not just like, do the Jane Fonda leg lifts to stay as thin as possible. We now know that muscle is a priority. GLP-1 medications are a great tool and so supportive for so many women. They are a part of the weight loss conversation and they're changing it in a profound and dramatic way. However, they do not replace metabolic support, right? They do not replace the need for nervous system regulation, the ability to maintain muscle as you optimize your metabolism and release weight. And we also know that self-prioritization is not selfish. It's necessary. And it really sets you up to be a role model and to lead the way for future generations of women. Strategic fueling with adequate protein is also important. So it's not about just, low calorie, low carb, fat free. We now know that that's like not a long-term trajectory. So these are the things that cognitively and logically, many of us are aware of. And many of us are making decisions, taking action to live in congruence with these new programs, right? With the new approach to health, because that's what the evidence and that's what the science shows us is advantageous. However, what's often missed in the conversation is this blending. What happens to the woman in the middle who's trying to live in the new world, but still has the old programs that are driving the unconscious part of her mind? So it doesn't feel safe to adopt and truly embrace and fully step into the new health routines if I have these old programs that are in conflict, right? In midlife, these new health routines can feel like an internal battle to stay consistent because your conscious mind is choosing healing and choosing things that logically we know are advantageous and would be good for us, but your nervous system is still protecting survival. What you learned and what your unconscious mind has shown has kept you safe. Like you're alive, you're safe, it's worked, right? So your conscious mind wants energy, wants ease, wants confidence, wants consistency. And yet your unconscious mind may still be running those old rules about food, about rest, about your worth, your body size, and self-prioritization. Right? Midlife symptoms often reveal where those old survival patterns are no longer supporting your biology. Said another way, I like to think about like this transition, this hormonal shift happens on purpose. And the reason is because I actually truly believe that we as women get to lead the cultural future for next generations because it allows us, it's not sustainable for us physically to optimize and to feel truly great if we're living with all of these unconscious programs that actually are not useful. And so when we can do the work, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to do the work and how to heal this so that you can come into congruence and have safety with the new health routines that really are serving you and model that for our future generations. Like I said this earlier, like that's one of the biggest things that's like why I'm so passionate about this work is I'm going to stop share a little bit here. And say like I've lived through this, and it's interesting because even early on, what I shared a little bit on Monday, during my own personal health journey and with my daughter's health journey with the seizures, like in the beginning, we were super like, oh my gosh, super strict and super dogmatic and be like, we have to do everything we possibly can to heal. And there was a season initially where it was very, very restrictive with our food and like absolutely no sugar and no, really, really dogmatic with tracking everything and measuring everything. And I realized now, I didn't think about it at the time, while that it's definitely part of the equation is how you're nourishing your body. And it's definitely important to make sure you're getting the protein in. We talked about this and the nutrients to fuel your cells. Living in a place where there's so much unhealthy relationship with food actually shaped the way my younger daughters were modeled. Like they now have programs that was during when they were like 4 and 6, this was happening in the world around them, right? So now I'm aware, like that was just the environment, that was the soup that they were swimming in, because that was the world that we were temporarily in for about like a 7-month window of time. It was really intense and a lot of emotion around it. And so I have now seen some of the effects, and it's like, ooh, this gets to be an ongoing conversation. That's how I've done so much healing and used a lot of these technologies that we're going to be talking about. And introducing Helen, she also is an expert and has used these technologies that we're going to be sharing. But I really think that this is like a calling for us women at this season of life. If you're in a place where you're like, there's something within me that wants to go on this journey to improve my health and my vitality, and obviously because it feels good and you're going to feel more confident and feel better in your body, I think the whole purpose is much greater than that, because it's going to require you, in order to reach it sustainably, it's going to require you to do some of this internal healing of those unconscious programs. And as you go through the healing phase and the healing of that, you are now modeling for future generations. If you have kids, if you're like me, I'm raising 4 daughters, you're now modeling a new normal, right? And that's what's so powerful is like our future generations, they get to have a new normal as their baseline. So I'm going to check in here and see how is this resonating with anyone? Is anyone saying like, I can relate to any of this? Yeah, go ahead. Mitzi's saying, I'm going to check my chat and see. Yeah, put in what's coming up, or if anyone wants to come off mute and just share. Oh, Rita, yeah, thank you.
So yeah, it definitely resonates. I had a eating disorder when I was in college,
Mhm.
which is interesting because my kids are college age and everyone's anxious and everything. And I was like, I was never anxious in college. And then I was like, oh yeah, I had an eating disorder. Like,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, that's how I coped with everything.
Yeah.
And I did a nutrition program a few years ago, and part of it was you do a 3-day fast. If, as an option, you could do a 3-day water fast. So I was like, I'm on it. Let's do it. And we were all communicating during the 3 days. And by the second day, everyone was like, I feel fantastic. I have this great energy. And I'm like, dude, I am not feeling fantastic. I just feel hungry. And I completed the fast for 3 days. And everyone else was reporting, like, oh my God, I feel so good, blah, 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 blah. And I talked to the woman, I'm like, I thought I was going to feel great at some point, but I just didn't. And she's like, do you have any history of eating disorders? And I'm like, oh yeah. She's like, that could definitely be impact. Like literally my mind is saying and my body's saying, you're not safe. What are you doing?
Yeah.
There's something going on here. And so I never thought that something 40 years ago that I felt was very resolved in my life
Mhm.
was going to be impacting me doing this fast, where logically I'm like, I'm safe, I'm choosing to do
Yeah.
this is good for my health. And yet my brain or part of my body was like, no, no good. You're not going to feel good during this. So anyway,
Yeah.
just
Thank you for sharing that, Rita. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's so what you just said there, that's exactly what it is. And that's why doing this work is the way through because it is unconscious. Like if you hadn't been in that space and had somebody to kind of show that mirror and see and ask the question, you probably wouldn't have made that connection.
I never would have made that connection. Never.
This is where coaching is literally a game changer because it's like
Yep.
it's almost like I always say, like I have a coach, I'll always have a coach because having somebody on the outside who can just open up and present things, give that space to really witness and see. It's kind of like trying to give yourself a haircut. Like even the best hairstylists and beauticians in the world, they don't give themselves their own haircut. There's a reason for it, right? Because, and so,
Yes.
yeah, thank you for sharing. I think that's a really powerful story. And I love that you were able to make that connection. And really, your body was trying to protect you,
Yeah, it
right?
was like,
Like,
this doesn't
this is
feel
not
good.
safe.
Yeah, you're hungry. And I'm like, come on, I'm waiting for that burst of energy. Come on, everyone's getting it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Um, let's see, I have, yeah, Helen saying we don't talk about this enough. Christine, yes, definitely can relate to all of it. Wilhelmina, wow, very interesting. I never considered that aspect of the time I grew up in. Very inspiring. Widens my perception. That's what this is about. We're creating a huge part of what I call like the hormone integration that actually is required for true, sustainable, long-term, decade worth healing requires a conscious increase of your perception. Like it's this, and it's not just like one layer. It's like it's opening that up and seeing things because now you can accept more of the wholeness of yourself and heal. And that's what helps change the trajectory. So I love that we're talking about this. So again, like, I just kind of jumped in. Hormone integration requires the nervous system to believe that this new pattern is safe because logically it's going to seem safe. Like you're going to say, yes, this makes total sense. That's not what's running the show. You know, some studies show that up to 90% of our day and our actions and our behaviors are controlled by the unconscious mind, not the conscious mind. So going back to, I like to just kind of recap. We've talked about some of these before, and I'm going to add a new layer here. But why most health approaches fail? We talked about this on day one. This is common. And again, it's not universal only this, but this is the most common pattern I see the loudest for the type 1 energy and output fatigue is some type of metabolic mismatch, right? Women have learned to eat less, move more, and fundamentally that works at a very top line level. But when we take it to an extreme, that's where it starts to damage the metabolism. The other common mistake that we see is the control mindset block, right? This is very common for the type 2 pattern that emerges, trying to improve your health through extremes. This is kind of the I'm all in or all out mentality. You know what? I'm just going to start again on Monday because I got to get this right. I got to do it. I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to do my meal planning. I'm going to get it all and then fall off by Wednesday and be like, oh, it's not sustainable. Like this kind of like back and forth internal battle with consistency often is pointing here. And then type 3, which is very common, is this idea of having difficulty receiving nourishment. Like your cells literally have difficulty taking it in. And this could be show up as more of like digestive challenges, bloating, constipation, different things like that. But oftentimes it mirrors that deeper layer of difficulty receiving support. Perhaps it's not loving yourself wholly and completely, what we talked about, doing some of the healing of the old patterns. Because of that, you won't show up for yourself fully and quit on you time and time again. And then I am adding this other one because this is universal across all 3 types. The mistake is skipping emotional metabolism. You cannot outplan an emotion your nervous system has not yet processed and healed. You can have the best laid plans, but if your nervous system has not yet healed and become whole and integrated this part of your unconscious mind, you're not thinking logically. You cannot just change your behavior because it's not a logical decision. When emotions are not metabolized, they become defenses. Here's what emotional metabolism looks like. It's really when anytime we have fear, guilt, shame, anger, resentment, and judgment. These are not bad emotions. Oftentimes they're negative. We tend to have like want to avoid feeling these instead of getting curious. They're there for a reason. Just like the symptoms are there for a reason, the emotions are there for a reason because they're always pointing towards either a need that isn't been met, a boundary that isn't being maintained or honored, a wound that needs to be witnessed and healed, a belief that is no longer serving you, or a protective pattern that's closing you off from true intimacy. So those emotions are literally the doorways to you living your more full, vibrant, energized self. But that's only if we can integrate them and heal them. They literally do unlock energy, like physiological metabolic energy in the body gets increased when these patterns are healed. The body may protect itself through over control, self-sabotage, perfectionism, people-pleasing, procrastination, emotional eating, or shutting down. These are just different ways that it shows up because your body feels unsafe. It holds on to fat for safety. It's trying to like literally bubble wrap you to protect you from these, these wounds or these unmet needs. So a lot of women are stuck here right now. And how do we move through this? How do we, create healing from this? Well, the first thing is to witness the emotion without judgment. We need a safe space. Awesome. Just like Rita demonstrated, sometimes it's very helpful to have somebody who can be that supportive, encouraging, non-judgmental witnesser, that coach, that mentor that can then help you to see what you couldn't recognize because it was unconscious, right? Then when we can identify the protective pattern, like, well, why is this coming up? This wasn't random. It's not holding you back. It's actually trying to help you. It's trying to help you notice something, trying to help you heal something. So when we can identify what it's trying to point to, then you can integrate that part that is in conflict and receive that trapped energy. And this happens through what I call, like, again, NLP informed coaching, neuro linguistic program, and EFT, emotional freedom technique. These are two technologies that we use that can help to use that healing and that integration. Then that allows you to install a new identity, those new programs, and really live in alignment with, okay, these are the things that I know are really useful and really valuable for me to continue to do, not only in my life today, but also in the next 5 years, the next 10 years. This is who I want to embody. This is how I want to show up. And you can integrate those old programs and heal them so that they work together congruently and it feels safe for your nervous system to operate that way. That's when you live in true alignment and create that lifelong vitality. So really, when we tie this together, how do we want to have that sustainable health improvements? It's be, do, have. A lot of people think, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do, Amanda, so that I can have this type of energy. Tell me what I need to do so that I can have, the size that I want and my clothes can fit. Well, whenever somebody asks that or inadvertently asks that, tell me what I need to do? I'm like, oh, wait. We need to take a step backwards and say, who am I being? How am I feeling? How am I showing up? Like, what are my thoughts and my beliefs? Who am I actually being as a human being first before I'm doing? Being, what that means, how do we know what being, if we're feeling some of those emotions, I can go back, but if we're feeling, throughout your day, if you were just doing a fair and honest assessment, and again, no judgment, because this has been me and it's still, I do this work every single day because it's kind of like brushing your teeth. I call it emotional hygiene. Like, it's like I brush my teeth every day. I do my emotional hygiene every single day because it's how it keeps that system from recognizing when I feel frustrated, when I feel guilty, when I feel worried, when I feel judgment, right? These are coming up. But when we think about what percentage of your day do you experience one or more of these emotions, right? Just being honest, and you can share, you don't have to share. If you want to put into the chat, you can, but just like doing a self-reflection of what percentage of your day. I have a lot of women, when we first start working together, their honest assessment is probably like 80% of the time that I'm awake, I'm feeling some type of negative emotion. Maybe it's not as like extreme as like fear, but you know what? I'm feeling just freaking irritated. That's a lesser form of anger, right? It's a boundary likely that's not being honored or validated. Um, there's judgment. Like I'm judging everything constantly, and I'm just like now I can start to see it. So again, that means there's that much opportunity for healing and for energy and improvement to happen. So when we have that, how do we do it? We rewire the nervous system. This is through the identity work, the emotional metabolism, and upgrading your beliefs. And then we have the doing, right? The doing is the things that we talked about previously, like the meal planning, the right supplement fit. I want to know from a micronutrient standpoint what nutrients are actually making it to my cells. Do I need to be a little bit more strategic and targeted with supplements or with my recovery? Very active person. Maybe I run every day. Well, what type of adequate recovery is going to allow my body to find that balance, right? Learning those health skills and then putting them into practice consistently. That's the doing. And then the being is, like I said, the deeper layer core work. So when we do those things in that order, then we have the benefit of vibrant health. First, from being conscious and then doing those health promoting actions. So how do we want to have sustained health improvements? It's upgrading our nervous system's range of capacity. We'll all have things that we can do when life is kind of going according to plan, and the kids are where they need to be, and work is manageable, and I'm getting along with my spouse and family members. There's no like extenuating circumstances. Things are good. I can kind of manage my health routine, and my systems are good. I've got some good healthy meals. Maybe I get some movement and some activity in. I get my strength training. Things are okay. Remember to take my supplements. But when life throws me a curveball, those things kind of get, they kind of fall apart. They don't happen in the same way, or they don't have the same prioritization, right? And again, when we go out of our range of regulation, our range of capacity, that is when things go awry. And that is, I like to think about it as like your ability to respond with conscious agency instead of react. When we update our nervous system through signaling to our bodies that we are safe, and even when we are experiencing something that in the past sent us out of our range of capacity, then we have expanded our threshold for living with lasting true vitality in the long term. So thinking about this to kind of tie it together as we're going to continue this conversation, but just planting seeds for you to reflect on like, ooh, which tools of support are going to be the most meaningful for you? Is it a matter of kind of the being tools? Like I said, that NLP informed coaching, sharing struggles and a supportive community is being witnessed. And especially seeing that there's a lot of like when we can recognize and see ourselves in other women's stories and shared journeys, just like Rita shared so beautifully. Thank you for being so honest and open. I think that probably helps other women to be like, okay, I actually can relate to that. I've had something similar. Journaling to see patterns. Emotional freedom technique is a really powerful tool that helps to calm down the nervous system as we're thinking and reflecting on some of these old programs. Personalized mindset tools. Those are the being, sources of support. Then we have the doing, making it simpler, easier, more efficient to have things like PFFV meal planning, quarterly symptom review. So you're staying ahead of what your body is signaling to you. 3-2-1 evening routine is what we do with our clients. Customized supplements so that you're targeted, you know what your body is asking for. Strength training, eating hygiene. These are just some examples, right? When you have those things, then you have the benefit of vibrant health. So I do want to just kind of pause here and check in because I've been talking a lot. What is, as you think about being tools or doing tools, what's coming up? Please put into the chat what seems like it's the most useful or the most, maybe like, hey, this is something that would be helpful for me to lean into in your own healing journey, if you're able. And Kelly, I know that you're driving, so you're not able to all of it. Mitzi says all of it. Yes. I'm with you, Mitzi. I use all of it and agree. It's a whole package deal. It's helpful to see. What about for Lisa, Jessica? I'm just curious. Wilhelmina, what's coming up? Christine, in terms of the areas that could be helpful for you as you think about reaching that next milestone. your health. Anyone else? Yeah, some of the being, someone said the being tools, some of the things like that. There we go. Um, it's all part of it. Being, nervous system continue to work. Absolutely. Yeah. And the good thing is this starts to be more of the conversation now. I think we're starting to get there more and more, but really having a pathway to support you intentionally on this makes a world of difference. And on that note, I definitely want to introduce some of you already met Helen Birney. I want to introduce her and bring her forward again today because she is a hormone freedom partner and coach. Helen and I have known each other for many years and are both so passionate about this work. And she plays an important role in supporting the amazing women like yourself that we get to support in this community. So Helen, do you want to take a moment to say a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, guys. It's so amazing to be here and to honor you and to hear everything that you have to say for yourselves over the last couple of days. And I'm excited to guide you more on this journey of thinking about the impact of fad dieting, the impact of choosing the diets that don't work, the impact of not getting to root cause healing. It certainly impacted me for over 20 years. I had 40-pound fluctuations in and out of diets since the age of 16 years old. I was on Weight Watchers. I was on 21-day fixes, Whole30s. I mean, you name it, I tried it. And every single time I failed. And what I didn't realize was that I was actually not failing. The diet was failing me. It's what I base my book, The Energetic Eating Method, on. It's what I've guided my clients through in the past 7 years, and what I also bring to Amanda's Hormone Freedom, what I'm so passionate with, along with Amanda, really looking at root cause healing and the thoughts that drive all the bullshit that goes on in our heads that keeps us from making the choices that are actually right for us and looking for those quick fixes. So I would love to guide you through some of that work right now over a couple of slides, and we'll go ahead and get started. Make sure I get the right thing up here. Oops, is that the right one, Amanda?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. Okay, so one of the problems is that women have grown to be accustomed to believing these things, and I want you to think about how when I say these things, what it feels what it feels like in your body. So first of all, be good. Don't be too needy. Take care of everyone else before you take care of yourself. Don't worry about the pain or symptoms you feel. Let's just move through it. If you ask for support, you are a complete failure. And I know when I say those things, and you might be feeling in your body, you're like, God, that's so mean. Why are you saying all that to me? Of course, I deserve to feel good. Of course, I deserve to listen to the things in my body. Of course, I deserve support. But the problem is that we've been so accustomed to believing otherwise, and we've grown up to believe otherwise and been taught, and even through diet culture, that these are the norm. Like Amanda said, it's in the subconscious and it's driving the choices and decisions that we make. It's exhausting and it keeps us stuck in a cycle of dieting, of driving us to fad diets and to not taking care of ourselves using root cause healing that Amanda's been talking about. And some of the biggest problems with diet and women's health culture are that we focus on fast results. And that's a huge problem because when we go at something in the beginning, it's like, I'm so excited. I'm really driven. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to count the things. I'm going to get the right meal plans. I'm going to follow it exactly. We do enough executive functioning in our lives as it is. You might be a full-time, have a full-time career. You might have kids at home. You might have other interests in your life or things that you feel passionately about. If you give just as much energy to dieting and to losing weight and to trying to solve this through fast, quick fixes that you do in the other more important parts of your life, you are going to feel shitty about all of the parts of your life, and it's not going to be sustainable. So we can't focus on that fast result. The other thing is the surface level tips without diving into your deeper root cause. This is what we've been talking about. The body knows when you are just not listening to it. It knows deep down when you aren't looking for root cause healing. It knows when you're just trying to slap a band-aid. And actually, it's more than a band-aid. It's like putting a cast on without taking an x-ray. Like you might find some sort of a result, but at the end, you're not actually going to heal the broken bone. It puts a lot of pressure on you with the internal battle of competing with unconscious, outdated programs. And all of these rules really put all this pressure on us to follow something not even written for you. And we go through Reels and Instagram and TikToks and we're like, oh my gosh, that's working for so and so. But what we don't see is what we can do for ourselves. And we get stuck in that comparison mindset. And then that pressure comes back on us again. What are the rules I can follow? Again, not written for you, but it's working for someone else. So we have to get out of that pressure that we're feeling in that comparison mindset. And then, of course, it's not sustainable for the long term. It leaves you stuck in the cycle over and over and over again. And that was the cycle I was stuck in. And that's the cycle that so many women have been stuck in for decades. Or as you're going through perimenopause and into menopause, you are starting that cycle right now. And I want to tell you, after being stuck in it for 20 years, you do not want to start that cycle now. You want to get ahead of it and you want to heal it before you even go down that road. Otherwise, like many other women who have had hundreds of diets underneath of their belt over the last 40 years of their life, you're not going to be able to get out of it, and you're going to be stuck wondering why you didn't take action in a different way now. Old programs have created today's diet and women's health culture. Yo-yo dieting is a huge part of something that, as I've told you, I've experienced. It's being stuck in a cycle of gaining and losing weight every single year, never really figuring out what works for you. And for me, the way I broke that cycle, and this is my big reveal, my story, my claim to fame in my book, is that I literally couldn't take it anymore, and I knew something was wrong. I knew something was broken inside of my head because working with my body wasn't working. And so with my best friend who came over, we weighed ourselves after another failed Whole30, and we took the scale that I had outside because I was so sick of seeing the same number and going back up in the weight that we put it on the ground and ran over it with a car. So we literally did that, watch it smash into 1,000 pieces, and that was the beginning of me ending my yo-yo dieting issues. I'm not saying anybody has to stop weighing themselves or has to stop, thinking about the benefits of weight loss, or that you have to go run over your scale with your car, though that would be pretty cool to see hundreds of women do that. You don't have to do that, but what you do need to do is to get into your head. And for me, I couldn't get into my head when my feet hit that scale every single day. The scale was telling me how to rule my life, how to run my life, what I would wear that day, what I would eat that day. And then those rules really interrupted the way I felt about myself, like crap, and then I would treat myself like crap as a result. So again, you may have been stuck in that before. You may be going on to that journey now as you start not appreciating or thinking about how to heal your body now. And I don't want anybody to get stuck in that cycle. The other thing is poor relationship with food and exercise. I always tell people that there's two ways of thinking. One is that you can avoid your favorite foods, be hard on yourself, and always expect more of yourself. Or two, you can include what makes you happy, celebrate your wins, know you're enough. Those are literally choices that you have. So I want you to take a moment to think, and I'm going to pause. Would you rather go down a path of way one, avoidance, hard on yourself, and always expecting more, right? Or way two, include what makes you happy, celebrate wins, and always know that you're enough? So if you take a moment and share in the chat, frankly, what it is that you would rather do, because you have a choice. Yeah, way two. Me too, but I didn't choose that for a long time because I was programmed in my brain to think the other way, that if I hated myself enough, I would kick my own ass into gear and I would finally get the results I was waiting for. Doesn't work. Didn't work for me. Didn't work for the clients that came to see me who wanted to get support. So I'm glad you guys are on board with way two, because that's what we're all about here. Other programs, restrictive issues that happen with dieting, right? Binge eating, not a program, but definitely a result of following restrictive programs like Weight Watchers. I know I used to save up my points. If any of you were in like late 90s, early 2000s Weight Watchers, where you could save all your bonus points for the weekend, you'd have like 20 points every day or 18 points or whatever your BMI told you would have. And then over the weekend, you would have like 20 extra points or whatever it was. And I didn't realize it, but I was setting myself up for binge eating behavior. And that's exactly what I did. And because I set myself up for that, guess what? In my free points or whatever they were called, I would end up eating twice as much of those. Right? So we don't want to get into that habit or behavior. And that's what these programs have taught us to do. We also have the problem of not eating enough. Programs like Optavia or Prolon that put you on fasts. Those types of programs are teaching you not to trust your body, but to think, as long as I have something that tells me that that I don't have to eat as much, which subconsciously tells you I am not enough, then I'm going to be able to go down the path of losing the weight once and for all, and I won't have to worry about it. It's one of those things where it's like, I promise I'll follow all of the rules. I promise I'm not going to eat it. And when I get success, I'm never going to go back to it again. It's not true. It's not true. We do go back to it again. And if we continue to not eat enough, guess what? Your metabolism is wrecked. You're going to hold on to the fat. That's what ends up happening. So it doesn't work. Even if you stick to not eating enough for a long haul, it's not going to work out in your favor. Amanda talked about that on day one. More things that can happen: nervous system dysregulation, being anxious, nervous, and high strung with the main focus on the scale. That was definitely what was happening to me every single morning. Anxious about the number I was going to see, anxious about whether or not it was going to go up or down. Disruptive to the nervous system, tells your brain that you're not safe, that you can't trust yourself, and that you don't know what's best for you. And then, of course, there's self-sacrifice. We put kids, spouse, aging parents, work, clients, and household needs ahead of your own health. That ends up putting us in that cycle of starting over on Monday, eating whatever is left, putting off workouts and investing in support, and then waiting until summer or after the busy season. I know that I've been there before when it's like, F it, I'm not going to do it until Monday, because we feel like we have to put everything else in front of our own needs. And when we end up looking for quick fix diets, right? That's a part of it. It's like, I have so many other things to give. I have to self-sacrifice. Give me something quick so that I can continue to sacrifice myself, right? Give me something that's going to work quickly so that I don't have to stop giving everything of myself. And we put so much value on that. We forget to value ourselves and to think about, again, how we can slow down, honor our nervous system, be grounded in ourselves, address root causes. And there's the old not enough time, right? When we believe that health belongs to endless meal prep or 21-day fixes or 30-day stints or 90-day programs, right? It's never going to feel like there's enough time. But the truth is, and what I have learned and what I teach my clients and what we talk about in Hormone Freedom, is that all it takes is one food choice, right? Exercise, and what I do with my fitness clients, we do 20-minute classes, 20 minutes to build muscle, to relax the nervous system and get the body on board with true healing. 20 minutes. You spend probably 20 minutes scrolling on your phone. You could come into a class virtually online with me for 20 minutes, okay? And then the last thing is your thoughts. We've been talking about thoughts over the last half hour, 45 minutes. Your thoughts is the number one thing you can change quicker than any of that. I can think quicker than I can eat. I can think quicker than I can get my foot out the door to exercise. It all starts with a thought. And if everybody just took a moment to think differently, then the actions you would take would also be different. And that's why this subconscious belief work is also so important. And then supplements, detoxes, and gadgets. Guys, this stuff is expensive. Okay, we can spend a lifetime over the next 30 years on red light masks, vibrating plates, weighted vests, supplements, other gadgets, detoxes. It costs hundreds of dollars, whatever it is that you want to do. And you can subscribe to that for the rest of your life. And you're going to spend way more money on that than addressing a root cause healing, so that you don't have to think about any of that stuff anymore. It takes up so much brain space and so much financial burden to allocate that to the rest of your life. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And women who don't break free from old programs often trying hundreds of ways to lose weight. In fact, women will try approximately 126 to 130 different diets in their lifetime. The average diet lasts about 31 days, though some studies indicate people quit diets after an average of just 6 days. I've been in both of those things. We develop a terrible relationship with food and exercise. We end up having that constant guilt and that constant shame. And then living in the prime years, dissatisfied with confidence and very low energy. Again, if you don't heal this now, you risk a lifetime of feeling that way about yourself. And the truth is, you do not need to cut out food you love in order to be healthy and optimize your metabolism. You just have to find that sweet spot. And when you know what your root causes are, when you know the patterns of health, you know what to include and how much to not include the things that might be triggering the inflammation that's causing the issue you're having. For example, for me, I know that on Sunday when I went out with my family and I had ice cream, that's not going to wreck my metabolism or send me into some sort of a spiral unless I had a dairy intolerance, which I don't. It was a fun time. Energetically, I was showing up with my family and making a choice for myself that felt really good emotionally and didn't destroy me digestively. One of us, myself included, might say, F it, right? I'm having the ice cream. I'm also going to have the boardwalk fries. And then I'm going to order something for dinner. But consciously, I have done the work to know that ice cream doesn't mean I screwed up. It's just a choice that I made that's a part of my life, a part of the fabric of the things that I do in order to keep myself in balance so that I can maintain results that I want for the long haul. And with the advent of medications, as Amanda said, it's an amazing tool. Of course, I work with women on GLP-1s to minimize side effects, to have long-term results, and not to have to be on the shot forever. And that can be a really effective way of dealing with your weight release. However, as Amanda said, it doesn't address the thoughts that you're having about yourself, and it also doesn't keep your metabolism healthy. So you risk after having the shot and after releasing weight that is going to balloon back up. Eating less is not how most women over 40 are going to improve their metabolism. And then again, measuring success by focusing on the scale is doing it completely wrong. You aren't meant to feel guilty. Negative feedback loops cause negative feedback loops. So you can get stuck in negative feeding negative. If you only focus on the negative, you'll always be focusing on the negative. So we have to interrupt that thought pattern with some of the things that we've talked about today that Amanda and I work with clients inside of Hormone Freedom that can help you escape that negative feedback loop. Right? So simply looking for signs that it's possible for you to create change is a huge step in the right direction. You don't have to, put sunshine all over everything and be positive about everything. Just believing it's possible for you is a part of what's going to help you with healing. And you can absolutely do all of these things and increase your energy, metabolism, and mood and have a little fun in the process. And Amanda is going to explain to you how you can do that.
Yes, thank you, Helen. So powerful, right? I can see that, like, I know Rita's already saying, like, I definitely want to learn more. This is what a lot of us can relate to, because these are the programs. This is the time that during our younger years, this is what was downloaded and installed unconsciously into our operating system, right? So it's like we get to do the work of now bringing that into the light and then being able to heal, integrate, and use that as a way to propel us forward. So how? People are going to say, well, how do we do that? How am I going to lose weight if I'm not being strict, if I don't have enough self-control? True progress is not about restriction. It's about that consistency, right? We talked about this before. We would stop swinging between the all or nothing and start living in the middle, somewhere in between. Then the body feels safe enough to change. And you really need a plan that's one that you could stick to, one that you can be consistent with, one that fits your real life and not anyone else's rules. Another thing that I often get asked is, I really think something is off with my hormones or my metabolism. I think there is a deeper layer here. Is it even possible to change after menopause? My body has been through a lot, right? We know that. And yes, definitely. I always say this thing, your body is not broken. It's very, very wise. In fact, every symptom is a communication. It's not failure. Even your moods, your emotions are huge communication signals, right? So when you support your hormones, your metabolism, and your nervous system holistically, your body starts to respond. With supplements, with medications, hormone replacement can definitely be tools that can support you, but they should never replace that foundational things that your body was designed to thrive on: food, rest, movement, peace. These are the foundational cores. So oftentimes those other tools go in supplement or in conjunction with the foundational piece. And then people often ask, like, it sounds like this is going to take forever to reach my goals. And I always want us to come back to fast isn't the same as forever. You've done the fast things before, and they've always left you starting over, right? So slowing down doesn't mean you're stuck. It means steady. And steady is what it actually leads to freedom, right? This whole, framework, this whole like purpose that Helen and I are both so passionate about is that hormone freedom. A large part of that freedom is freedom to feel truly empowered, fulfilled, confident, at ease, experience peace and presence in your life. That means your body physiologically is balanced and your mental, emotional, and spirit is balanced as well. When you focus on building habits you can live with, not rules that you can't wait to break, the results become effortless and permanent. So I do like to share that by the end of today, you will have a clear roadmap to learn how to stay grounded when life gets full, how to show up on the days that you don't feel like it, and how to make new habits become second nature, not a thing that's just another thing to add to your to-do list that feels overwhelming. And again, it's really my hope here is that we stop having this cycle that Helen described. And again, I've been there too. Many of us can relate to the experience of like jumping into a new weight loss plan or a new program, then to find yourself falling off the bandwagon after a few weeks. And this is why discipline feels hard. You're maybe thinking like, I want to, but you don't follow through, and it can get very aggravating. Then that becomes more self-judgment, more criticism, or you start strong and then life gets really full and really busy. Something else happens and you eventually quit without even realizing it. And you're thinking, maybe I know what to do, but I can't seem to stay consistent for longer than a couple of weeks. The truth is, this is not a willpower problem. It's a heart and a systems issue. So a heart problem means there's a misunderstanding with the term discipline. Discipline is training your mind, your body, and your spirit to choose what matters most, even when it's not easy. Discipline is not about punishment. Discipline is really training for something better. I think of it as like love in action towards your future self. It's having that longer term perspective and really building for something in the future. This is when health discipline becomes devotion. Another thing that can show up as a heart problem is not being grateful for the health that you have now. This was me. I absolutely lived in this place of being so focused on what was wrong with my health, especially in the recent time after my diagnosis of Hashimoto's, that I wasn't focusing on what was right and what was working really well about my body. So when we are in that place of feeling ungrateful, we tend to fall into making excuses. Gratitude is low. The mind scans for what's wrong, what's missing, or it says, I'm too tired, I'm too busy, this isn't going to work anyway. And it builds resentment towards our body, right? When we're ungrateful, we delay. This is when we think, okay, I'll start on Monday. I'll start after the holidays. Or when life slows down, then I'll be able to give some attention to this. Gratitude says, this body, this season, this chance matters now, right? And when we are ungrateful, we don't see progress. It's very easy to have the brain kind of tune out the small steps and the wins along the journey. And then when we don't celebrate those wins, we lose consistency. It's easy to get disillusioned and feel frustrated. So positive reinforcement is necessary. It's an important part of the process. It's a huge part of what we build into how Helen and I support you. A grateful heart helps see the positive changes. And with a grateful heart, you notice those small wins, returning your energy, strength improving. You keep going forward. And that is the key to consistency. Another heart problem that can come up is the wrong focus. Maybe focusing only on the vanity-based goals that don't sustain for the long term, right? They don't anchor in the heart. So a strong reason why it's important to improve your health, to maybe increase your energy, balance your hormones, improve your digestion, balance your mind, your mental clarity, and your focus. When we have that rooted in purpose, not comparison, that's what gives you that staying power. And the right why honors God. You are, I believe, a divine creation. Caring for your body becomes stewardship. right? Then we can also have a systems problem. Sometimes it's more of this. It's like consistency breaks down when we don't have a clear plan. Guessing leads to burnout. Anytime you're trying to guess at it, it's very easy. Like, what do I need to eat? When do I need to move? Am I doing enough? When we have more and more uncertainty, that breaks down the system, right? That creates more stalling and hard to stick with it because you're just kind of, you feel like you're throwing spaghetti at a wall. Trends then can replace the strategy, jumping from one plan to the next. And what's the new hot fad? That creates chaos, not progress. And then emotions tend to take over. This is when you feel tired, stressed, busy, and you don't have like a backup plan or a default that you can always rely on to keep it simple and keep it consistent. This is where structure creates calm, and a simple plan removes pressure and supports your follow through. Another thing that can come up with a systems problem is overwhelm, trying to do too much too fast, jumping in into everything on day one, saying like, okay, I need to dial in my nutrition, I need to change my workouts, I need to make sure I'm getting better sleep, and I need to get a certain number of steps in every day and take these supplements. That right there, oh my gosh, that's exhausting, right? You're like, as Helen said, our mind is already doing so much executive functioning that we cannot overwhelm the system. It's thinking about intensity versus commitment. Doing more is rarely sustainable. Overwhelm triggers shutdown, and the plan is too heavy, and the brain looks for an escape. So progress comes from layering things, not from loading. One habit at a time builds that trust and keeps that momentum. And then the other thing that can come up with a systems problem is distraction. I talked about this before. The reality is the average adult attention span is like 2.9 seconds now. That's just the world that we're living. So scrolling on Instagram or text messages or comparing what friends are doing, it can pull your focus away, right? Exhaustion can derail us unless we simply lower the bar rather than quit. So having, again, simplicity, clear plan, life and sickness, those can definitely be distractors. So having a game plan to how to approach those floor and ceiling, mentality, knowing like, and when I'm at my best, what's my ceiling capacity? When I'm at a floor, I'm sick or something else has gone on in my life. How do I still continue to keep those health routines that are going to be the foundation? And busy seasons, protect one non-negotiable and anchor that habit. So when we think about where to have the support for that health improvement, it perhaps is a heart problem, maybe a systems problem, maybe a little bit of each, one or the other, or a few that are coming up and thinking about like, ooh, this is what would really help move the needle for me. And I want you to imagine a health strategy where your focus feels truly aligned. You know why you are doing this, and you keep showing up daily. Discipline starts to feel easy because you know that you're training for something better. You're training for your future. And this is something that inspires you. You feel hopeful, you feel empowered, you feel ready and capable. You're truly grateful for the health you have and notice the small wins along the way. So again, that's building energy and momentum. Your plan is clear. There's no second guessing or falling off track. The habits feel doable, simple. You know you can stick with it even when life does get busy because you have how to adapt and what are my, ceiling like modifications or my floor modifications when I do have a busy period of time. You don't get distracted by other success or new trends because you're honed in on your own path. Like you are really in this place of being the driver of your health. What I call like being an empowered leader in your health. Who wants this? I just want to, pop into the chat me if you're like, yeah, this is where I want. This is what I want for your health strategy. Yeah, I always like to hear like who's ready for this. Absolutely. Okay, good. Well, is it okay if I show you how Helen and I can support you with this? In the Hormone Freedom Method, this is the 5-month one-on-one program for women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who want to increase their energy, metabolism, and mood, and finally figure this out once and for all. This is for you if you're curious about how hormones, stress, nervous system, etc., are affecting your health today. and you're tired of the fad diets and the trends that only work in the short term. You want that better relationship with self-care and or food and or exercise to really land and heal for you for the long term. You want to learn what foods will work for you that you will love and still allow you to optimize your metabolism, right? Still allow you to feel confident in your clothes. That's what we really are wanting usually when we want to lose weight. You're busy, you're stressed, and you need a plan that is doable and actually fits your lifestyle. Somebody that can help you make this work instead of just trying to, piece it together by what you're finding on different Instagram reels. You're ready to prioritize your health now, and this time it's not about wasting more time and more money on quick fixes. How the Hormone Freedom Method program will work for you. You receive 8 private Zoom sessions to customize your plan, review your labs, and rewire old unconscious programs. So over the course of 5 months, you and I connect for 8 individual sessions to really map out your hormone freedom pathway. Weekly personalized audio coaching, support, and text. This is where, again, it's that keeping pace, really that practice of celebrating wins, seeing the progress and the momentum, and functional labs that are included, including micronutrient testing, hormone testing, as part of the puzzle pieces, right? We want to have all of the information to be as strategic and efficient as possible to give you a simple plan. NLP-informed coaching to help you integrate and heal those old programs. Symptom reviews every 90 days to see real evidence of change. Again, sometimes we tend to forget about things and not see things. And when we see evidence of that, it's really inspiring. I can't tell you, I literally just had a woman yesterday, we were going through her symptoms, and she, in a matter of, it's been a month and a half, and she's had an 82% symptom improvement. She's like, holy cow, like it's really miraculous what can happen when you have this cohesive plan and all of these pieces weave together and support. And plus a cheerleader and a metabolic expert in your back pocket. Plus you get the community support with live strength trainings with Helen every single week on Mondays and Thursdays. She leads our group. I lead the group metabolic labs, where we do a little bit more hormone expert education and kind of your identity work. Helen leads the monthly mindset motivation with goal setting, rewiring old patterns. You get to connect with and be inspired with other amazing women who are on a similar path and experience that deep healing that we talked about, and being witnessed and having a safe space to integrate those unconscious programs and really heal and move through them. And we have annual wellness retreats. So I love tapping into the deepest desire to commit to your well-being and health and to be kind to ourselves. Yes, absolutely. Also, as part of the Hormone Freedom Method, you get our coach-guided online lessons to complement your one-on-one sessions. So you have a complete access to all of our workbook and journal and the curriculum. So it's science-based educational resources, handouts, templates, things that are going to make this easier and faster and more customized for your journey. And we know that lifelong sustainability and proven results come with all of our clients. 100% of our clients are satisfied within the first 30 days, 100%. Like, I feel so deeply about this that there is a guarantee with this program, because it's just like, sometimes it can be hard to step into making that decision and saying yes, because especially if you feel like you've tried before and it hasn't worked, that if you step in fully in the first 30 days and you're not completely excited and hopeful about the changes you're seeing in your body and the type of support that's around you, then you can decide that, hey, I want to exit the program. This isn't for me. And you no questions asked, the next 4 months are fully refunded to you. We have found that 5 months is the sweet spot for success, because it does take some time to heal those unconscious programs. There is a membership opportunity as well to continue to have that support when you complete the five months, and to have that ongoing as well. It's not a 5-month fad that ends. We want these habits to stick with you indefinitely. This is a plan that ebbs and flows with the different seasons in your life. And now we can go the free route, right? We can do, okay, I'm going to download an app and I'm going to take this 10-day challenge and I'm going to, try, like I said, the new meal plan and the new recipes, but that often leads to frustration again after a few weeks, just like Helen described, like she's experienced this many times. You can go to your primary care and start the medicines. Oftentimes they have side effects that don't necessarily heal the root to begin with. a lot of times that root is these old unconscious programs that are driving the decisions and the behaviors that have led to our experience right now. You can try to do it on your own and find out that that is easier said than done, or invest in a cheaper program and get cheaper results. If you want to take what you learned in this training and jump full in, what many women who've come to me afterwards have found that the support and the accountability in the journey is actually the most important piece. Like intellectually, I can have the resources or some information, but putting that into practice and having that accountability, having that encouragement, having that real-time support to refine and to make adjustments, or to say, hey, this didn't go the way I expected, or I really kind of got stopped up here. How can I do it differently? That's where what really created the change. And you keep starting over every few months and erode self-trust. You do nothing and keep feeling defeated. Like, I always like to ask, is that really free? Or does that cost a whole lot? Wasted time, so much effort, energy, frustration, uncertainty, and preventing you from increasing your energy, your mood, your metabolism, so you can truly feel confident in your body. So I invite you to apply now and book a hormone consult. And we'll just have an honest conversation and see if this is a fit for you. If you want that type of support, that guidance, that mentorship to heal some of the deeper layers that are likely part of the unconscious programs, and also to pull the puzzle pieces together, to look at your body holistically with the integrated systems. This does create real results. And I like to show you what's possible as a message of inspiration and hope. 96% see a measurable reduction in symptoms within 10 to 12 weeks. 90% report significantly better sleep within 5 to 7 weeks. 78% of women see bloating and constipation gone within 6 to 9 weeks. 72% feel an increase in daily energy by month 3. And there's typically a 0.5 to 1.5 pounds released per week, naturally without restriction. Like I said, Helen and I, we're not about, you have to track, 200 calories and never eat, eliminate all the foods that you love and enjoy. So it is possible to see really powerful transformation and sustain that. This is Carissa, 2 years after we worked together in the Hormone Freedom Program. And, again, other amazing, inspiring women like Amy, who released 25 pounds in a matter of weeks and really learned, like, she felt empowered going to her doctor. She's like, I understand what nutrients my body needs and what amount and how to make that happen in a realistic way. Debbie reduced her blood pressure medication and released 8 inches. Kathy, when we tested for her, she knew her hormone levels were really low, especially testosterone. And she chose, and we have a conversation about, like, is that something you want to support and have hormone replacement therapy? For her, it was. We adjusted her exercise. She increased her strength and was able to massively charge up her energy, her mental clarity, her focus. And she's like, I am at the lowest weight I've been since 2020, pre-COVID, right? And I feel amazing. So I just want to invite you here. Thank you for sticking with us. I know we went a little bit over today, but if you're feeling inspired, apply now and book a Hormone Freedom consult. Like, this is your chance to see what is possible and how you can create a whole new trajectory for the next several years and decades. So thank you so much for joining us today and being here for this conversation. Tomorrow, we still have one more big step to talk about. We'll be talking about removing toxins and the power of how to charge up our mitochondria using strength training as well. So join us again, tune in tomorrow, and we'll have plenty of time for open Q&A and all of that tomorrow as well. So thank you, ladies. See you soon. Thank you.